I want to talk about the finest bourbon money cannot buy. What is Blantons? Why is it so popular? Why can't I buy it? Welcome back, everybody. My name is Ben Jackson, and today I'll be your bourbon expert for The Art of Doing. So what is Blantons? Why can't you buy it? And why is it the finest bourbon that money cannot buy? Well, Blantons is a single barrel bourbon from the Buffalo Trace Company. And believe it or not, Blantons is the first line of single barrel bourbon ever made in the United States. Before 1984, if you wanted a bourbon, it was all blended. And most of the bourbons that you have on the market today are still blended. But because of Blantons' excellence and popularity, most of the distilleries nowadays will put out a single barrel bourbon. So what is a single barrel bourbon? It's exactly what it sounds like. When a company is distilling bourbon, it goes into a cask and is aged. And typically what happens is that a distillery will test a bunch of different barrels or casks and mix them together to have a very consistent taste for what they're known for from that distillery. A single barrel bourbon is an excellent barrel, one of the better barrels that doesn't need a lot of blending to be excellent, and they mix it down with some water to get it to the correct proof, and they bottle just from that cask. And so you get a very distinct and character-driven bourbon out of this instead of a blended and smooth, consistent tasting bourbon. Blantons was named after a young desk clerk that started with the Buffalo Trace Company and then worked his way up to be president for many, many years, taking him through World War II. I think he retired in '54. One of the master distillers at Buffalo Trace in 1984, Lee, started this line and released it, and as a tribute named it after Blanton, who, legend has it, would set aside casks that were particularly excellent and not put it out to market, and kind of had that as his private stash that he would give to guests and friends of his. So this Blanton's bourbon is supposed to be excellent. As of this taping, I have never tried it. I have to give a big shout out to my buddy Brad, who, after my bourbon episode, I'll leave a link up top so you can check that out. I asked everybody in that episode to leave a comment in the comments section and tell me what was their favorite bourbon that I didn't have in my collection. And my friend Brad, who was a martial arts student of mine, he got in touch with me and said, "Got to try Blantons." Let me tell you about going to a store, asking for a product, and having them laugh in your face. I went out to store after store and asked if they had Blantons, and most of these stores would laugh right at me. And this is why Blantons is a bourbon that money can't buy. It's supposedly not very expensive, but you can't find it. Why is this? Well, it's a single barrel bourbon, and from what I understand, it's not a marketing gimmick. They don't make a lot of this stuff since you have to pull a single barrel, and you still have to have enough single barrels to make all the rest of the Buffalo Trace products that they make. Because of that, the first couple of stores that I went to, I just went to their bourbon area, looked on the shelves, they didn't have Blantons. I thought, next time I go to a different liquor store, I'll go looking for it. After looking at several liquor stores, including some big ones, that's when I started realizing I was going to have to ask for this thing. Turns out, when Buffalo Trace puts out some Blantons, they do something called allocation. Only give a few bottles to some stores some of the time. So a big store in my neck of the woods told me they get 3 or 4 bottles every so often, and they put them up for a raffle. They're not raffling it off and giving it away. They're raffling off the opportunity to pay money for Blantons. Not that you're going to get the free bottle. If your name gets called in this raffle, you have to still come up with the expensive money to buy this bourbon. This is a bottle that I am very very anxious to get my hands on. After much research, I decided I was going to have to put in a plan of action to get my hands on some Blantons. I wanted to try this, and I don't know if I was hyping it up in my mind too much, but I needed to get my hands on a bottle. Before I continue, I want you to leave me a comment in the comment section down below. Have you tried Blantons? What do you think? And if you haven't tried it, have you ever heard of it? Is this intriguing you to go out and try to find some? Spoiler alert, I did find some Blantons. I haven't tried it yet, and I want to try it and tell you how I found it. So right over here, you'll have a video of how I got my hands on Blantons and how you can get your hands on some. If there's no video over there, I haven't made it yet, but stay tuned. It'll be coming out soon. Let's always remember to practice responsible drinking. Let's practice kindness, compassion, and humility. Thanks for being with me to help me practice the art of doing.